Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Source 16 News. I'm Eddie Owen. Thanks for joining us. A fatal fire in Callaway County that claimed the life of a toddler this morning is being investigated by the state fire marshal's office. Now, according to officials, the fire occurred shortly before 7 o'clock this morning at 24 Morgan Drive in the Coldwater community and claimed the life of an unidentified boy believed to be about 2 years old. State fire marshal investigators report 2 adults inside the home when the fire started were not injured. Kentucky 121 in the Coldwater community was closed for several hours this morning due to the house fire, and traffic had to be rerouted. According to officials, no foul play is suspected. The body of a Michigan man who went missing on Kentucky Lake in Marshall County last night has been recovered. According to Kentucky Fish and Wildlife officials, the body of 39-year-old Randall Lester of Attica was found this morning near Sled Creek in Marshall County. Officials reported that Lester went missing around 8:30 last night when he went swimming just before storms hit the area and couldn't make it back to a rented houseboat, which floated away from him due to gusty winds. Search and rescue crews searched for the 39-year-old overnight and discovered his body this morning. A top-ranking Fort Campbell officer is moving on to bigger and better things. After serving more than 3 years as the 2nd Brigade Combat Team Public Affairs Officer, Lieutenant Colonel Larry Potter, who recently returned from Afghanistan, is now working at the Pentagon. Potter talked to Source 16 exclusively about his departure to Washington, D.C.
Saddening. This is like a family and home to me, especially coming off a deployment and losing so many soldiers that you become friends with. So this is my new home that now that I have to leave, that's the way the Army works. I think that once you get the experience in one, they need to move that experience somewhere else so somebody else can receive the experience that you just received.
The lieutenant colonel told us his first day on the job was this week and that his new role includes working with all branches of the military. A remembrance ceremony honoring 7 fallen soldiers from the 101st Airborne Division was held earlier today at the local post. This month's remembrance ceremony honored 35-year-old Sergeant First Class Charles Lewis Atkins of Ohio, who died April 16th as a result of a suicide attack during a meeting at a forward operating base. 28-year-old Sergeant Linda Pierre of Florida, who died April 16th as a result of a suicide attack during a meeting at a forward operating base. 35-year-old Staff Sergeant Ergen Osman of Michigan, who died May 26th when insurgents attacked his unit with an IED. 21-year-old Specialist Adam Patton of Washington, who died May 26th when insurgents attacked his unit with an IED. 39-year-old Sergeant Luis Ramos Velazquez of Puerto Rico, who died May 26th when insurgents attacked his unit with an IED. 29-year-old Sergeant Edward Mills of Pennsylvania, who died May 26th in that same IED attack, and 25-year-old Corporal Brandon Curtin of Colorado, who died May 18th after being hit by small arms fire. The ceremonies are held each month to honor fallen soldiers who were deployed in support of Operation Iraqi and Enduring Freedom. A former Fort Campbell soldier was sentenced today to 20 years in prison after he was convicted by a jury for the 2010 fatal wreck that claimed the life of a Hopkinsville woman. Before Christian County Circuit Court Judge Andrew Self imposed his sentencing, he reviewed the case.
Some might believe, Mr. Kristoff, that the verdict and the sentence was not harsh enough. Others might believe that it was too harsh. But regardless, because it was the result of a fair process, the verdict is the verdict. And this court intends to honor that verdict. There's no reason that has been presented, no reason that the court believes would be justifiable in not honoring that verdict.
Following the sentencing, Judge Self gave Kristoff the opportunity to talk and express his remorse to the victim's family.
There's nothing else I'd like to add because everything I have to say, I've said, and I will yet again say I'm deeply burdened by this accident for the rest of my life, and it will always be that way. It will be something that will always stick with me, and it will never leave. It's not something you can just turn me back on. And that's it.
On May 25th, a jury convicted the former Fort Campbell soldier of murder and first-degree wanton endangerment in the January 13th fatal crash that killed 73-year-old Norma Cook. Christoph has 30 days to appeal the sentencing. Meanwhile, Tuesday, Judge Self held one of 6 men accused of killing a Hopkinsville police informant in contempt of court. Court records indicate Judge Self found 22-year-old Lakego Kendrick to be in contempt of court after talking during his court session. In addition, Judge Self sentenced 18-year-old Devontae Hampton to 5 years in prison and scheduled 3 other co-defendants in the case to be sentenced September 19th. Another co-defendant, 22-year-old Cortez Lynch, is scheduled to have a jury trial on the same day. As previously reported, the 6 men took a plea deal and entered guilty pleas for their roles in the July 2009 beating death of 41-year-old John Lyle. The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet has scheduled a public meeting tomorrow night to discuss plans for a new railroad overpass connector in Hopkins County. Now, according to spokesman Keith Todd, the new railroad overpass connector is between Brown Badgett Loop and Kentucky 1069 Stagecoach Road. The overpass will replace a wooden structure that was closed to traffic in October 2007. Todd said the new concrete bridge will restore traffic between Brown Badgett Loop and Madisonville North Hopkins High School to Stagecoach Road and will also be able to handle school bus traffic, which was unable to cross the old bridge. Everyone who is interested in this project is urged to attend the public meeting tomorrow night from 6 until 7:30 at Madisonville North Hopkins High School. Meanwhile, officials in Hopkins County are bridging the gap between Kentucky and Indiana. The Madisonville-Hopkins County Chamber of Commerce last night sponsored a meeting to allow transportation officials to give updates on the proposed I-69 corridor project, which includes building an Ohio River bridge between Henderson and Evansville. Kentucky Transportation Cabinet I-69 project manager Ted Merriman shared the latest information about ongoing efforts.
So right now, the first thing I want to talk about is what we call SIU 6. It's between Eddyville and Fulton. It will be on the Purchase Carroll Parkway as well as I-24. We're completing a study later on this month. The project team will meet July 26th. We'll review the draft document. Probably in September, the study will be finished. And what the study consists of is looking at the features of the parkway and comparing that to interstate features and defining what meets design standards for interstates and what does not. Also, we'll develop alternates to convert the parkways to future I-69.
Transportation officials say construction of the I-69 corridor is important because 17 of the nation's top 25 seaports will be directly connected to the highway, and it will create 27,000 jobs and add $11 billion in wages. Last night's event was held at the Hopkins County Fairgrounds Ballard Convention Center and was sponsored by People Plus Incorporated and Murray State University. A second Arkansas man is in custody by police in connection with a kidnapping and armed robbery that occurred in Clarksville last month. Around 10:30 on June 24th, Clarksville police report that a 35-year-old man was withdrawing cash from an ATM at Lafayette Road and Fort Campbell Boulevard when he was robbed at gunpoint of $400 and then forced back to his vehicle where a second gunman was waiting. Police say the victim was then forced to drive to multiple ATMs under threats that he would be killed if he didn't cooperate, and the suspects grabbed an additional $200 from those ATMs. Around 10:30 last night, 24-year-old Brian Patrick Pierce of Warren, Arkansas, was extradited by Little Rock officials to Clarksville. The second suspect, 22-year-old Dexter Dwayne Alcorn, was arrested June 24th. Both men are lodged in the Montgomery County Jail on aggravated robbery and kidnapping charges under a $100,000 bond. Police say the two men were visiting friends in Clarksville, committed the crime, and then went back to Arkansas. Governor Steve Beshear today directed that flags at all state office buildings be lowered to half-staff tomorrow in honor of a deputy state fire marshal who died last week. 49-year-old Charles Sparks reportedly suffered a heart attack last Friday, July 8th, while battling a fire in Adair County. He was a 23-year employee of the state fire marshal's office. Most recently, Sparks served as an assistant chief with the Adair Columbia Fire Department, where he worked for 32 years. In addition, he was a Kentucky fire and rescue training instructor. The governor encourages individuals, businesses, organizations, and government agencies to join in this tribute from sunrise to sunset tomorrow. A Trigg County graduate has been awarded a Trooper Island Scholarship from Kentucky State Police. On July 7th, 17-year-old Devon Horton, a 2011 graduate of Trigg County High School, was awarded the $1,000 scholarship. Wharton, pictured here with KSP Commander Nathan Kent in Mayfield, was selected after a statewide application process which began in November 2010. Wharton plans to attend Western Kentucky University this fall. Well, now it's time for Hopkinsville Christian County Crime Stoppers Coordinator, Officer Paul Ray. It's our featured Fugitives of the Week.
This week, probation and parole needs your help locating 2 wanted fugitives. Police are looking for 29-year-old DeClarence Ramsey, who's wanted on several outstanding warrants. Ramsey is a black male who stands 5 feet, 8 inches tall, and weighs 165 pounds. His last known address was the 100 block of Sanderson Drive. Police are also looking for 29-year-old Melinda Elaine Hostler, who's wanted for probation violation. Hostler is a white female who stands 5 feet, 5 inches tall, and weighs 145 pounds. Her last known address was the 11,000 block of Butler Road. If you know where police can locate these wanted fugitives, and we've got cash waiting for you. Pick up your phone now and call our tips line at 887-TIPS. If your information leads to an arrest, Crime Stoppers will pay you a cash reward. And remember, we will never ask your name, and you will not have to appear in court. Well, this week's Fugitive of the Week, I'm Officer Paul Ray for Crime Stoppers.